Okay, welcome in. Paramay Trades. This is Paramay's Trade Journal. My personal journal. My personal market speculating journal. And what we're going to look at today, just to keep the ball rolling, it's Saturday. And it's the wrong date. I think I have the wrong date on the last video I did too. It's the 11th. It's Saturday. Market's closed. Market was closed on Friday too. We're going to look at the Canadian dollar for one of two reasons. I particularly interested in two currencies this weekend, which was the Canadian dollar and the Mexican peso. So we're going to look at COT. It's our leading indicator, one of our leading indicators, not our only indicator. So commercial interest. We're going to look at some pivots. We're going to look at some price action. And we're going to see what we can see. See if we can align ourselves on the right side of the trade and with market sentiment. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at the Canadian dollar, and this is a lot of the reason. So this was top of the list, very top of the list of currencies for one of the videos that we just did. I'm particularly interested in the 6-month index, not so much in the 3. We would really like to see the 3-year index up where the Mexican peso is. So if I had to put these in order, Mexican peso first and then the Canadian dollar second. So I don't really know what's going on with the Canadian dollar, but it got really bullish in the last 5 weeks in terms of commercial interest. So they hop feet, switch direction. We were under 20% for a couple of weeks. Didn't look nearly as interesting, but now that price action has traveled down quite a bit, I mean, even a better position this week in terms of net long positions for commercial interest. So this bodes well, right? So when we're looking at the data, and they're holding net short for quite a period of time, and then within the last 5 weeks, some aggressive net long positions being held by commercial interest. So anything up over 80% bodes really well for our indicator or our index on the Canadian dollar. On any commodities for that reason. So this has piqued our interest. This piqued our interest back here when we saw the 5-week prior kind of give us an indication that this is switching. So, and the sentiment is definitely changing in terms of commercial interest. So does the chart always spike when commercial interest is peak with net long positions? And the answer is no. I mean, sometimes they get a head start, and sometimes the chart doesn't move for a couple of weeks, but it at least gives us some idea that commercial interest is interested. Are they always right? No, but we definitely want to align ourselves, I think, with them with big money. I mean, they probably can't get in and out of trades as quick as we retailers can, but let's just look at the chart. And this is why this chart was just so interesting to me. We did get movement once we broke that 80% range. Over 80%, very positive outlook. The 6-month index has not been, for what data we have within the last 6 months, has not been this bullish. So as always, we look at 4 common factors that really aid us or assist us in following them. Open interest relatively low, WPR in the oversold territory, market sentiment extremely low, like it was back here when we saw some price action to the upside. 1, 2, 3, and comms getting bullish. So nice pivot, like we talked about in the COT report Friday roundup. Can we align ourselves with commercial interest here and make some money? So this is already presenting itself as a pretty darn bullish chart. 6-month index. When we see this time and time again, where there's a market top and price action moves to the downside or moves in one direction or the other, and then commercial interest gets pretty darn interested in it. Where can we see that hike in net long positions here, and then do we get a similar movement with price action to the upside? Are we getting similar movement, price action, correction to the upside? And it looks pretty good. So back here on the 3-year index, just about, brushing up against the 80% range, and are we getting some price action to the upside? Suddenly, commercial interest not so interested in the 3-year index. Just brushing up against that extreme range, but look at the sentiment shift for quite some time. 3-year index not as responsive as the 6-month index, but we get a little bit of direction change here, and within this area, we get a little bit of movement. So not at extremes, and price action's not moving at extremes either. 3-year index, breaking or breaching that this area, this 20% range, and do we get some price action to the downside? I would think so. So I always like to see this diminishing or relatively low open interest. Nobody's interested. Oh, we're selling here. The market's not very interested. Well, guess what? Big money's now interested in this because nobody's in the pool anymore. So this chart with commercial interest index should speak for itself. So let's take a look. Let's bring up our 2 chart. Nice and clean. Just working with some price channels. We've gotten into this trade. So time has passed. Hindsight's 2020. It's always easier to look at a chart after it's occurred and say, yep, but you could have done this, or you could have done that, or I definitely would have been a buyer here, and So we'll do a little bit of that, and then we're going to do a little bit of where we think price is going to go, or can we prepare ourselves for what's going to happen in the future, so we can get some kind of advantage, and gain some kind of advantage with, and align ourselves with where the market is going. So downtrend channel, same as always. Try to establish a point of control and say, is this a good area where price was trading around? And it looked pretty darn good. So we got this channel established relatively early with these 3 pivots. So we only had this amount of data to work with when we established this channel. We definitely don't want to be buyers up here if we're seeing this kind of price action to the downside. Absolutely not. But better opportunities exist, one would think, below. That was a hard sell-off. So this piques your interest, but look at the rejection that's happening around the 1.25 coefficient of the downtrend channel. So your zero is up here. Let's get this right here. Negative 2.5 coefficient is up here, and here's your 1.25. You can go further and put a 2.0 and a 3.0 coefficient if you want to, and find out, if this is brushing up against those areas and finding support. I bet you if we loaded a 2.0, it's somewhere down in here. So this wasn't a stellar swing pivot, but it existed. It was there. We did not trade lower. So this looked like a nice swing. Some nice price action to the upside. We swing lower. We don't push lower. We find a little bit of support. Here's our low value range to work with. Here's our high value. Paying mind to the downtrend channel. We still finding resistance up here, even with this little scalp play that probably happened. But the 1.0 still providing a decent amount of resistance. Let's get up in this thing so we can see this nicely. Because I think this is a pretty good chart. I don't think it's as good as the Mexican peso, but I think it's a pretty good chart to play. I mean, this is there was a little sideways here, not stellar. But if we find a rejection on this downtrend channel, support and rejection, support, rejection, rejection. A lot of trading activity, a little bit of rejection, and then we're finally finding support in the 1.25. These are way better opportunities in this area. Whoops. Hey. Go above. All right. TOS gives me trouble. My snip and sketch can't give me difficulty here. So these are way better opportunities when we break back into this channel to be a buyer. This should have been a pretty darn good indication right here on this downtrend channel that it's time to be a buyer. It's time to be a buyer. It's time to get into this trade. And then point of control, if you missed it, which, some buyers did. This looks pretty darn scary, but it looks like a really nice pivot to work with. Look at that, right? I mean, hard to find, but it's in there. It's in there. And there's the support on the 1.0, on the 1.25. It's time to be a buyer. If you missed it, point of control, finding support around here, time to be a buyer. Finding support on the zero coefficient, time to be a buyer. If you're extremely late to the party, maybe the -2.5 coefficient looks good, but not a good opportunity, not a good time to be a buyer on this newly established uptrend channel. So how do we establish this, relatively early to think that this was going to be an uptrend? So here's our 3 points. This is what I like to do. I like our ascending lows when we establish an uptrend channel. I like to get these two first and then find a pivot high. So we only had this amount of data to work with our downtrend channel. But we established a nice uptrend. And this is a nice strong move, right? This is a nice impulse out of here. This is excessive amount of trading that's happening here. If you're not thinking about being a buyer in this area, below this, if you're not rolling the dice with a stop below the lows and the higher low here, opportunity right here. Finding support there. And we get it. We get it with this data working for us here. The market is telling us that this is where it's going. So we break out of this channel, and now we're into some retest opportunities on the 1.0 of the downtrend channel. Not a good time to be a buyer up in here. Good time to be a seller. Uptrend channel, 1.0 coefficient, a little bit of excess up here. Good time to be a seller. Great time to be a seller up in here. Great time to be a buyer with a test of the 1.0 or the zero coefficient, and then again on the zero coefficient and again on the zero coefficient, and we get some price action to the upside. So now we're in this range. We're trading the high end of this range, but below this newer point of control that we're working with. So now we're in an uptrend. How strong is this uptrend, though? How strong is this uptrend? What do I want to say about this one? What are our observations? Well, we're below the point of control, but price is still traveling higher. A good amount of trading going on in this range, right? It's a good point of control. This is a good median line. This is a good middle ground. This is, we keep attracting back to this point of control. So we've got a pivot high here that we've got to work with. I mean, good time to be a buyer up in here. We're getting some good build up, I think. So build up and a break. But where is this going to go for now? Better opportunities, I would think, to be a buyer in the lower end of this point of control and watch for a breakdown. Better opportunities here, but higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. And unless we break lower than this higher low, and then this would be a pretty darn good indicator if we get a rejection in this area. To maybe sell and target some, as a scalp play, target some of these lows, and then maybe it swings higher. But we have not broken this. We haven't swung through this. We have swung through this pivot, so this liquidity is taken, I believe. Where's their target? Well, they haven't quite gotten this one just yet, but maybe that's the we get up there and we get up over the point of control. I want to see something. I definitely want to see something go. I mean, this is so. It's middle ground. It's better opportunities down here to be buyer. You want to be a buyer up in here. I don't know. Can it rip? It definitely can. There's nothing saying that the Canadian dollar can't rip higher. But I would like to see less rejection on the point of control, and I would like to see the market show us that we're going to get up over this, and we're going to get up here before I can be a buyer. Right now, I want to wait for a better opportunity and a better setup, either to be a seller to short this thing, or to be a buyer. And I think this. Where are we going? Where are we going here? What are they looking for? What's the market looking for? Now here's two areas. Well, that looks, that kind of lines up a little bit, doesn't it? That don't look bad. But it doesn't look particularly strong underneath the point of control. So there's so much trading going on underneath it that get nice accumulation before we blast higher. Com's really bullish, 100%. 100%, just brushing up at 100%. Anything over 80 is bullish. This bodes well. This bodes really well up in this area. So, and I like that open interest is relatively low. But is this danger zone? Do we want to wait for this to come down a little bit to be a buyer? Hard to be a buyer. Hard to be a buyer up in here, but there's nothing that says that this can't travel higher. And if it does, what's ultimately where are we looking? So we had a little bit of support going on in this area. I'm going to come up and challenge that or tag that. But I'm liking this. I'm liking market sentiment as low as it is. Oh gosh, I mean this was the time to be a buyer right back in here, and a break. Boy, missed it. Too much going on. Moving out of my apartment on Wednesday, so did most of the work already. So back on the charts this weekend, looking to line something up, looking to get on a trade, and set my trailing stop or my limit, my stop limit, and just hoping and praying that the Mexican peso or the Canadian dollar shows us something this week that we can attach ourselves with or identify with, and find some good money. Yeah, trying to find support off this weekly candle. This could have. So what do we have? Good pivot working here, higher low, and we've got this low. Nice support in this area. Didn't trade through it, but that's a weekly candle. That's pretty strong. So a little bit of sideways trading going on. We gearing up for a break. So we're trading right at the highs. 71631. Can we get a break and come up and re-challenge this area right here, 72565? Yeah, we might get some price action to the upside this week. Let's see if we get a nice positive candle, and we don't trade lower than this. We'll find some support in here, so we could dump down just a little bit on this weekly. I already found support there, but let's drill down. Let's just drill down real quick. Finding support there, so I gotta watch the open here. I'm definitely gonna watch the open. And this is what the week prior. I'll come up and challenge that. It could go. It could definitely go. Not the most impressive, but could be the start of something new. I would wait for WPR to kind of come down. Maybe market sentiment come down a little bit. Market sentiment's pretty useful even on your lower time frames too. And this is the time to be a buyer. This is time to be a seller. and it chives pretty well. But they're cooking. Comms are cooking. So let's see if we can align ourselves with the proper side of the trade this week. I would watch the Canadian dollar. Could be a good time. Boy, but if you missed it back here, where you chasing? You're chasing up here. I would wait for a better opportunity with WPR to come down, maybe just a little bit. Just a little bit here, because you don't want to be you want to chase up here, but it is, the strength is good. The strength is good. See if we would come down and pivot just a little bit lower off the WPR and find a little bit of opportunity right in this area. Price moves up, and better opportunity to be a buyer. So it's tough to want to be a buyer here. But I'm gonna watch the chart this week and see where we can jump in on this. Is this my 2? No, it's my 2. Okay, that's what I gotta say about the Canadian dollar. Good luck. Good luck. I hope you find yourself on the profitable side of the trade. If you want to come and visit us in Discord, we're here. We're here. This is the Discord app. Pop in. Let us know what's going on. We talk fundamentals. We talk COT report. And we've got all our markets broken down. So server is listed in the description of the YouTube channel. Hope you find yourself on the profitable side of the trade, and we'll see you again on the next video.